Karen's kitchen had become a war room. Printed emails, covenant documents, and photographs covered every surface. She'd been up all night, driven by rage and determination, building her case like a legal brief. "Okay, boys," she said to Zeus and Athena, who lay sprawled across the floor like furry accomplices. "Let's review what we know." She held up a photograph of Janet Walsh from the neighborhood directory, our primary suspect. Motive: revenge for the garbage can violation I filed. Opportunity: she lives 2 streets over from the Jamisons. And means: Karen pulled out her phone, scrolling to a screenshot. Janet's husband owns Walsh Painting Services. They have access to spray paint and Luke. She zoomed in on a social media post. They painted their own garage last month. Same brand, same color. The doorbell rang. Karen peered through the peephole and saw 2 police officers on her porch. "Mrs. Pemberton?" The taller officer, Sergeant Rodriguez, looked tired. "We need to ask you some questions about the vandalism incident." Karen invited them in, her dogs maintaining perfect behavior. She'd trained them well for exactly this type of situation. "I understand you've been having disputes with the neighborhood association," Rodriguez began. "I've been exercising my legal rights under the covenant," Karen corrected. "There's a difference between advocacy and vandalism. Several witnesses saw you making threats at the HOA meeting." Karen's smile could have cut glass. "Did they? I have the entire meeting recorded on my phone. Would you like to review my exact words?" She played the audio, her voice clear and measured. "You have 48 hours to re-sign this frivolous fine. After that, I start exercising my dogs." "Exercising my dogs, officer, not vandalizing property. I meant long walks, as any reasonable person would interpret." The second officer, younger and clearly uncomfortable, shifted in his chair. "What about the spray paint? Do you own any?" "Of course not. Why would I need spray paint? I'm not a teenager." Karen leaned forward. "But I know who does. Janet Walsh's husband owns a painting company. Have you questioned them?" She spread out printed screenshots across the coffee table like a dealer showing cards. Social media posts, business licenses, even a receipt she'd found in Janet's recycling bin during her morning exercise walk. "Mrs. Pemberton," Rodriguez said carefully, "did you go through someone's trash?" "Recycling bin, on public property, during collection day. Perfectly legal." Karen's tone was matter-of-fact. Janet made a mistake. She threw away the spray paint receipt, but she forgot to remove the store loyalty card number. I cross-referenced it with the purchase timestamp. The officers exchanged glances. Karen had essentially solved their case for them. "Why didn't you bring this to us immediately?" Rodriguez asked. "Because I wanted to be thorough. I've learned that accusations without evidence are just noise." Karen's voice softened slightly. "I may be difficult, officers, but I'm not stupid. Why would I spray paint my own neighborhood? I'm trying to protect property values, not destroy them." After the police left, Karen sat in her kitchen, exhausted but vindicated. Her phone buzzed with a call from Tom Mitchell. The emergency HOA meeting was supposed to be civilized. Karen Pemberton had other plans. "You want to find me for my pristine landscaping?" Karen's voice cracked like a whip across the community center. Her perfectly manicured nails drummed against the folding table as she leaned forward, eyes blazing. "My roses are the crown jewel of Willowbrook Estates." Board President Tom Mitchell shuffled his papers nervously. "Mrs. Pemberton, the violation is for the garden gnomes. The covenant clearly states, the covenant can kiss my—" Karen caught herself, straightening her pearl necklace. "Mr. Mitchell, those gnomes are decorative garden art. They're worth more than your sad little Honda." The room fell silent. 23 residents had shown up to witness this spectacle, phones already recording. Karen's reputation preceded her: 3 years of noise complaints, property line disputes, and her infamous Christmas light display that spelled out "Bite Me" in cursive. Furthermore, Karen continued, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "I've done my research. Section 4.7 of the covenant has a grandfather clause. My gnomes were installed before the current restrictions." Tom's face reddened. That's not how it works." The board voted. The board voted without proper notice. Karen slammed her designer purse on the table. I have screenshots of the community app. The meeting announcement was posted at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. That's not the 72-hour notice required by your own bylaws. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Karen had done her homework, and everyone knew it. This is ridiculous, muttered board treasurer Janet Walsh. We can't let one person hold the entire neighborhood hostage over lawn decorations. Karen's head snapped toward Janet like a heat-seeking missile. Hostage? Hostage? You want to see hostage, Janet? You remember what happened to the Hendersons when they complained about my sprinkler system? The room went dead quiet. Everyone remembered the Hendersons. Nice family. Moved away suddenly last spring after their lawn mysteriously died overnight. Mrs. Pemberton, are you threatening? Tom began. I'm promising, Karen interrupted, standing slowly. At 5'2", she somehow commanded the room like a general addressing troops. You want to play hardball? Fine. But remember, I know where you all live. She walked to the back of the room, where 2 leashes hung from the door handle. With deliberate precision, she clipped them to the collars of her German shepherds, Zeus and Athena. The dogs, sensing their owner's mood, stood at attention. You have 48 hours to re-sign this frivolous fine, Karen announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd never lost a fight. After that, I start exercising my dogs. And they love long walks through the neighborhood. She paused at the door, turning back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Oh, and Janet, your garbage cans are still out from Tuesday. That's a $50 fine, according to Section 6.3. I'll be filing the paperwork tomorrow. The door slammed behind her, leaving 23 residents and 3 board members staring at each other in stunned silence. Outside, Karen loaded her dogs into her pristine BMW SUV, her hands shaking slightly. She'd crossed a line tonight, and she knew it, but retreat wasn't in her vocabulary. What do you think, boys? She asked her dogs, catching their eyes in the rearview mirror. Ready for some neighborhood patrol? Zeus let out a low growl that sounded almost like approval. Karen, we owe you an apology. Janet confessed about the spray paint. The board voted to re-sign your fine and censure her. I appreciate that, Tom. But I think we're past simple apologies. What do you mean? Karen looked at her dogs, who were watching her with intelligent eyes. I mean, I've learned something important about this neighborhood. We're not just dealing with covenant violations. We're dealing with people who are willing to commit crimes to win petty disputes. She paused, letting that sink in. I'm calling for a full audit of the HOA board, financial records, meeting minutes, enforcement patterns, everything. Karen, that's not necessary. Oh, but it is. Because if Janet was willing to frame me for vandalism, what else has she been willing to do? What other violations has she fabricated? What other residents has she driven away? Karen stood up, energy returning. You wanted to see what happens when you push HOA Karen too far. Well, congratulations. You're about to find out what happens when Karen decides to run for board president. She hung up and looked at her dogs. What do you think, boys? Ready for a campaign? Zeus barked once, sharp and decisive. Karen smiled, a real smile this time, not the brittle mask she'd worn for months. She'd been painted as the villain, but villains sometimes had the best view of everyone else's secrets. And Karen had just realized she'd been collecting evidence of those secrets for years. Outside, the neighborhood looked the same as always. Perfect lawns, pristine driveways, covenant-approved mailboxes. But Karen knew better now. Underneath all that suburban perfection lay a network of grudges, lies, and small-scale corruption that would make a political scandal look tame. She opened her laptop and began typing. Fellow Willowbrook Estates residents, it's time for real change in our HOA. Her dogs settled beside her, ready for whatever came next. After all, they'd been through a war together. Now it was time to win the peace.